As of late, the Americans are dangerously divided. Um, is America coming apart at the seams? A New Generation Lab poll of rising college sophomores had conducted an NBC News. They conducted a poll for NBC News, and it confirms that young Americans are segregating themselves along what we refer to as partisan lines. Now, and as Axios notes, 46% of respondents who said that they would probably and definitely not room with someone who supported the opposing presidential candidate in 2020. 62% of that was Democrat, and 28% of that was the GQP. Meanwhile, 53% said that they would probably or definitely wouldn't date someone who supported the other team. 63% said that they wouldn't marry someone who supported the other party in 2020. Now, this partisan division is certainly a departure from America's past, and yet this does not appear to be solely a Trump-induced phenomenon. Back in 1960, a mere 5% of Republican parents would have objected to their child marrying someone of a different political party, according to a 2014 Vox article, citing research published back in 2012 in a 2012 paper by Shanto Iyengar, Gaurav Sood, and Yeptek Locus. I'm not sure I'm saying any of those names right because I don't know who they are. But by 2010, a 49% said that they would be displeased. Now, comparing the parents' preferences regarding their children's spouses with college students' preference doesn't map perfectly, but the trend is fucking clear. What also seems clear is that this trend did not begin with Trump's 2015 escalator ride announcing his candidacy as a squatter. But once again, Trump seems to be as much of a symptom of this trend as he is a cause or accelerant of it. Now, let's note this. A recent Pew Research Center survey shows that among Democrats, 63% see the Republicans as immoral, which is true. But according to the data, this number is dramatically up from just 35% who said it back in 2016 when it comes to suggesting that this phenomenon is new, and Pew's polling seems to be an outlier. Anecdotal cultural artifacts confirm that a lot of this polarization predates Trump. Now think pieces about this subject abounded back in 2014, and perhaps not coincidentally. An author named Greg Lukianoff traces the rise of cancel culture on college campuses to 2014, suggesting that the ubiquity of social media was a contributor. Now, take for example this 2014 piece back in the Washington Post, which quotes someone named Ali, who had to say this on Facebook. I don't want to have anything to do with someone who voted for Mitt Romney. I chose to take their support for Republicans as a personal attack on my right to control my body, and friendship can't not survive this. The author, a blogger and former teacher, goes on to say, at one point, they would have pitied anyone who cut off contact with a family member over political differences, but that pity came from the privilege of imagining that the stakes were too low to matter, and I see now just how high they can go. Again, it would be understandable if this piece had been written back in 2021, after Trump attempted to overturn a free and fair election. With what interests me most is the convergence of a couple of things. Now, first, this dogmatic attitude is coming from the Democrat side, which flies in the face of the old stereotype of the Democrats being open-minded free spirits. Now, soon the political figure who is too outrageous and able as to warrant cutting off friends and family is Mitt Romney. If Republicans had felt threatened enough after Romney's loss in 2012 to embrace Donald Trump in 2016, and to what degree did attitudes like this feed a sense of hopelessness that led to radicalization? And to be sure, there are plenty of Republicans who espouse similar separatist attitudes. But according to a 2021 study conducted by the Survey Center on American Life, Democrats are twice as likely as Republicans are to report having ended a friendship over a political disagreement, which was 20% to 10. And that is consistent with the latest Generation Lab report, and it comports with the 2014 Pew survey, showing that Democrats are more likely than those to other ideological groups to block or defriend someone on a social network, as well as to end a personal friendship because of politics. And so, what are we to make of this? Personally, I can understand not wanting to marry someone who supports a different political party, especially considering how the parties have sorted and are less ideologically diverse. Back in the 1990s, when things were less polarized, the person that wrote this article dated a Democratic woman, but the person ended up marrying a conservatard, and now that they have kids, he basically claims that he's especially glad that they did. And raising children is hard enough when couples share different similar values and a worldview. I can't imagine trying to do so with the house divided. The same would be true, of course, if the person's wife were a huge maggot Trump sycophant. Now, my main concern is the absurd notion that you can't be friends or roommates with people from opposing parties. And for the last 12 years or so, the person has co-hosted a weekly podcast conversation called the DMZ with the Democrat columnist Bill Scher. Now, this experience, among others, has forced the person to grapple with their own assumptions. It has also taught them that people on the other side of the aisle can be utterly decent and honest. Now, these friendships that span political affiliations are crucial for a nation's health and cohesion. And we wonder to what degree these friendships have prevented me from going off on the deep end. It seems to me that cutting oneself off from friends and family who have different views is a way of avoiding having to do an introspection. It is also a step towards dehumanizing other Americans, since it's easy to otherize people you do not know and love. And dehumanization is a step towards violence, and these things seem to go hand in hand with each other. And however much I wish it weren't so true, it does feel like a burgeoning Civil War territory, and at least culturally and in our personal relationships. Now, basically, yes, America is divided because of the way that people act and do. Sorry. Sorry about that. So if you like the video, give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King. You can also hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when a new video comes out. And if you want to support my work even further, you can donate to my Patreon link, which you can find in the About section of YouTube, and for just a little, it's a few bucks a month. Your donation can help go a long way, and thanks for listening.